Hello, and welcome to the fourth episode of A Picture and a Thousand Words. I'm Michael Feather. Thank you for joining me. The title of this episode is Building Brotherhood One Secret at a Time. And so I should say that I feel very blessed to have two blood brothers and a few soul brothers that I'm able to share my secrets with, and they're able to share theirs with me. I think it has added so much to my living experience, and I hope and envision that it contributes to theirs as well. And what I'm really trying to draw your attention here with this imagery is just that, do you have a brother that you can share your secrets with? And I don't necessarily mean a blood brother. It can be someone who with you are another man who you are close with. And I should say that this message is mostly for men because I think that's where this message is needed. And then also, not only do you have someone that you can share your secrets with, but also one who can share theirs. And so I came to this general concept, um, pondering the internal evolution of men and women. And what I mean by that is thinking about men and women at the 15 to 25 age range, and then at sort of the 55 to 75 age range. And so for women, the 15 to 25 age range is pretty terrifying. This is the mean girl demographic. These are women that are likely in their prime physically, but maybe not their prime socially and emotionally. Um, and these are the folks that can cry their way out of parking tickets, or make your life a living hell if they choose to, or get into clubs if they don't, even if they're not 21. But despite how terrifying this group may be, give it 40 years, and now we're talking 55 to 75. These women turn into these really benevolent, regal, amazing creatures that I like to call grandmothers. And I think that I'll just let your own imagination populate the vision in your head of what it means to be a grandmother, or what the grandmother experience is like. But man, I don't think this world has enough of them. There's such spectacular contributions to any culture that they're in, whether it be Western, Eastern, Northern Hemisphere, Southern Hemisphere. They're just grandmothers are just everybody loves them. They're awesome. When it comes to men, the age 15 to 25, men are simple. They're likely at the whim of their biological urges, and they're maybe coming into their own physically, and they're pretty predictable. But fast forward 40 years into 55 to 75, men are complicated. And what I mean by complicated is that they can be set in their ways. This demographic can be very prideful, can be very reluctant to admit when they're wrong, very stubborn, even if they have no reason to be. And what's unfortunate is that I think that internal, I don't know what the best word for that is, but that internal adolescence, I should say, that hasn't maybe grown since 15 to 25, can really percolate into some pretty ugly behaviors. And I think it's not surprising that this demographic, the 55 to 75 male, particularly white male, have committed some of the worst sins in human history. And that's not to say that there aren't some magnificent grandfathers out there, but I think that this demographic is just complicated. And so I thought long and hard about why that is. And what I came to is that women are willing to share their insecurities. They're willing to vocalize their vulnerabilities, their anxieties, things they don't like about their body, things they don't like about their partner, things they don't like about their children or their life or their job. They're willing to sort of express themselves and their insecurities and things they don't like. And that has two potential outcomes, or actually has multiple outcomes, but two positive potential outcomes are: one, whoever they're talking to can say, "Me too," and this is how I dealt with it. So they can conceivably grow from it. Or that same person could say, "Me too," and it's like that with everybody. And they can say, "Oh, okay, maybe I shouldn't feel insecure about this," and they can move past it. And I think both of those two possibilities lend themselves to really positive emotional maturation. And do that over 4 decades, and maybe you can get a mean girl transitioned into a benevolent grandmother. But unfortunately, men just don't behave that way. And one of the ways I know this is that even finding this picture of two men talking was actually somewhat difficult. It's easy to find two businessmen talking or a man talking to a woman, but two men in what it seems like a neutral conversation was actually hard to come by, and that's just not how men are. They can communicate in the news, sports, weather universe. They can talk about fantasy football or what's going on in Syria, but how they feel about parts of their body that they're insecure about, probably not. And I'm somebody who's in the middle of this transition. I'm 35, and I don't want to be a crotchety, set in his ways, narrow minded old man. That's not what I want to become. And one of the ways that I have learned to potentially be proactive in this vein is to build brotherhood. And one way to build brotherhood is to foster connections with secrets. Secrets are really, really powerful. They are the currency of trust. I know this because if someone ever were to share a secret with you, the only way that you can really respond to that gesture in a way that will make that person feel better or at least less vulnerable is if you share a secret yourself. That's really the best response. Now that's not something that you should feel like you have to do, because then people just go around telling their secrets hoping that they tell theirs, which that's probably not the best thing to do. But that being said, it still has a tremendous value proposition in terms of really building a relationship that's built to last. And so I challenge the men out there to find a brother to share your secrets with. Fortunately, maybe you already have one. Um, but if you don't, do your best to find one and cultivate that bond. And also to be trustworthy enough to be a person that they can share their secrets with you. And you don't necessarily even have to fix their problems or know how to fix them or offer constructive input, but just giving that permission to be human, that ability to be weak, because we all are. We all have stuff that's locked up inside us. And my thought is that if you don't control your insecurities and your vulnerabilities and your weaknesses, they're going to control you. And if you feel hopeless, like, this is just how I am and this is just how I'm going to be, I don't know. Maybe try to share some of your inner thoughts that maybe you wouldn't even share with your wife or your coworkers or your friends. Maybe there's just this one person that you're like, man, I can tell that person. I can tell that guy. He's got my back and I got his. And he's got all the dirt on me and I got all the dirt on him. And I think men had that at one point. I think in that 15 to 25 demographic, you got your frat buddies and your teammates and you do stupid stuff together and you kind of know each other's, you got dirt on each other, but it kind of brings you closer together. But then as you get older, those things sort of fall away and you have kids and you have jobs and those relationships kind of fall apart. So once again, I just say, do you have a brother to share your secrets with? One who can share theirs. And so, in terms of just PowerPoint tricks, the only trick I wanted to illustrate here is the use of soft edges. That hand clasp graphic was actually a little tricky to work with. I had trouble sort of pruning off the background without losing the white that occupies the hand. So I wanted to keep that white, but I wanted to lose all the other white, and that was hard for PowerPoint to do. So instead, I just used soft edges, and that allowed me to blend it into the background, which I think made a nice effect. And you're going to see that blended feature in subsequent episodes. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode and tune in for more.